women who raised their hands and said, "Pick me." They volunteered to protect this country and defend freedom, and that kind of sacrifice reminds us just how serious this moment is. At the same time, we're carrying the responsibility of turning our economy around. The truth is, the Biden administration left this country in a hole. Inflation hammered families. Manufacturers were pushed to the brink. Job creators felt like Washington had turned their back on them. The American people sent us here to fix it, and that's exactly what we're working to do. We're working to lower costs, unleash American manufacturing, strengthen our energy independence, and put bigger paychecks back in the families of hardworking Americans. The Working Families Tax Cuts was among the most important pieces of legislation that we passed to do just that. For older generations, we secured $6,000 bonus deduction. For working families, we eliminated taxes on tips. And for parents, we extended the child care credit. And for future generations, we created Trump accounts to jumpstart the American dream. Those are real results for real people, real results that every single Democrat voted against. And I will remind everybody again, every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes. Every single Democrat wants the government to keep more of your money. But we're here this week to do more. We're here to fight fraud, to lower costs, and to expand paychecks. We're here because we love this country, and we believe hard work should be rewarded. Parents should actually have a voice in their child's future, and America should always stand strong against our enemies. We will secure a legacy where Americans keep more of what they earn, where our manufacturers lead the world again, and where the borders are secure, where America continues to be respected across the globe, where our communities are safe and our values are defended. Over the next few days, we're going to debate policy, strategy, and the issues that matter most to the American people. But at the end of the day, our mission is simple. Make sure the next generation inherits a country that is stronger, freer, and more prosperous than the ones that we were given. The American people are counting on us to do that, and that's exactly what we plan to deliver. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the Speaker of our House, who has led us in this journey. Oh, I'm sorry, Whip Emmer. The whip who has also led us in this journey. Come on, you don't want to use the box?
Y'all want to see him on the box, don't you? Yeah. Thank you, Lisa, I think. From the start of the 119th Congress, House Republicans hit the ground running to enact President Trump's America First agenda. Since then, our majority, though slim, has delivered win after win for the American people. We passed the Lake and Riley Act, ensuring that criminal illegal aliens are swiftly and permanently removed from our communities. We passed the Halt Fentanyl Act, equipping law enforcement with the tools that they need to save lives. We passed the Genius Act to ensure America's status as the crypto capital of the world. And we passed a rescissions package to get rid of the wasteful spending in our federal government. By the way, we finally got back to governing as intended by passing 11 of 12 appropriations bills through regular order. And perhaps most notably, we passed a once-in-a-generation bill to cut taxes for every single American. Last year at this member planning session, I said, Democrats go on retreat. We're planning the future. I said our House Republican majority could and would get reconciliation done. Just a little over 5 months later, we did exactly that. The Working Families Tax Cuts delivered massive policy wins, including the largest tax cut in U.S. history. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. Working families are keeping more of their hard-earned money in their pockets because Republicans got it done. Failure was not an option then, and it is not an option now. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to deliver for Americans from coast to coast. We're more energized than ever to lower costs, protect taxpayer dollars, and give every citizen in this country the chance to pursue their version of the American dream. Our work has just begun. It's far from over. And with that, I turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. Last night we kicked off this member session where we're planning for the future of this great America, celebrating 250 years, by hearing from our leader, the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And he had a great message talking about some of the things we've already done to work with President Trump as House Republicans to make life more affordable for working families. Something we set out to do starting last January, and we've been doing it because we had a lot of mess to mop up from 4 years of Joe Biden. Let's not forget the record high inflation, record high interest rates, costs through the roof. Democrats never wanted to talk about affordability when they were jacking up costs on all families, making housing unaffordable for families, opening up our border and letting violent criminals come into this country. And President Trump ran to fix that, and we as House Republicans ran to work with him to fix those problems for working families, and we've been delivering. And make no mistake, this work is far from finished. We're just getting started, and we're delivering real results for families. They're finally starting to see costs start coming down. Not to the level they were before Joe Biden started racking up those costs, but they're finally coming down. When people file their tax returns this year, 4 in 10 American families are getting real money back, over $1,000 back for most working families. And every Democrat voted against that money being put back in the pockets of working families. Think about this for senior citizens. Senior citizens are seeing a $6,000 tax credit, which for 85% of seniors means they're not going to pay any taxes on Social Security. It's a great benefit for senior citizens. Not millionaires and billionaires. These are seniors who work their entire lives and living on fixed income, and they're finally getting something back. And every Republican delivered on that. Every single Democrat, House and Senate voted no. And so that is the contrast that we're laying out as we're planning additional things that we're working on to fix more of the mess that Joe Biden left behind. And there's a lot of bills that are sitting over in the Senate. We're going to be sending them more bills. Our committees, all the chairmen are here, and our members are going to be talking and hearing from all the chairmen about things that we're going to continue to do. We're working on a farm bill, just came out of committee to help America's farmers across the nation. We've got a really important housing bill we passed over in the Senate. The Senate's got a different version. Chairman French Hill and his members are going to be working to hopefully find a common ground to make housing more affordable for families. You look at what we've done, again, on so many different issues to finally get control over spending, not just rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, but to put more money back in the pockets of working families, to get this economy moving again. It's not been easy. Part of the reason it's not been easy is because every step of the way, the Democrat Party, who is a rudderless ship these days, has been voting no on every single issue because they wake up every day and their only motivation, their only agenda is to block anything Donald Trump does because they hate the president. Look at what their own elected leader said. They really don't have a leader right now in the nation amongst Democrats, but their elected leader in the House basically said the Iran mission was going to end in failure. Just think about that for a second. You've got a mission going on where men and women in uniform are risking their lives to take out the world's largest sponsor of terrorism, which everybody acknowledges, the threat that Iran posed, trying to get a nuclear weapon. But they had been killing hundreds of Americans for decades. And they want it to end in failure? That's insane. That's what we're working against right now. We shouldn't have to be working against that as House Republicans, but that's okay. We're going to keep our focus as House Republicans on working with President Trump to make life more affordable for working families. If Democrats want to keep voting no, the voters are going to have something to say about this November. A man who's been working tirelessly, not only on the agenda, but going all around the country to spread this message is our Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Thanks to all of you for being here. It's great to see a good crowd here in Florida for our annual House Republicans Issues Conference, 2026 conference, and it's a really important time for us. We're grateful to the Congressional Institute for hosting this opportunity each year, and it couldn't be more important than it is right now. So among the issues at the Issues Conference, of course, we're talking about the policy and what our agenda will be for the remainder of this year, and of course the politics as well, and how all this blends together. And I know you all have inquired about our agenda going forward, and we're finalizing the plans. I use football metaphors a lot, as you know. I'm an LSU guy, and we have a big playbook of plays, and as a team, we are corralling together for the next couple of days to try to make the final plan on which plays we're actually going to run in the remaining quarters of this game. Did I extend the metaphor far enough? That's where we are, okay? It's a very important time. To put it simply and in a very straightforward manner, our mission, our game plan is obvious, and that is that we have to defy history and grow our majority, which we will do, and we've got to continue saving the country. House Republicans are working hand in hand with President Trump and his administration to bring down the cost of living for hardworking American families. We have done an extraordinary amount of work in that regard, and there is much more work left to do, and so that's what we work on every day. And this team is committed to that resolve. And defying history to win the majority is not a simple task, but it is one that we will do. And you have to remember, because all of you track this and you report on it, you keep the progress reports, this House Republican majority has defied expectation and historical trends and conventional thought virtually every single day that we've been governing. And we will do it again. It would be a very foolish thing to vote against us. That's my advice to you, okay? This is a contrast election, and we're really excited about that because the contrast is as stark as it has ever been. There is a wide chasm between these two political parties. This is not your father's Democrat Party, as we say all the time. This party is run by Marxist, open socialists, the far-left insurgent politicians and the activist base, and they're pushing the party all the way over the edge, and they've left America behind. When we say a contrast election, we say it very simply, as the president said it so well and so clearly at the State of the Union. This is a contest between normal and crazy, between common sense and crazy. And we have lots of examples. I mean, you could go down the list to look at all the issue sets. I was just taking notes in our last session and everything that everybody brought up in the upcoming election. The question that we ask to every voter in every district around America is, do you want to elect a party that will secure the borders or reopen the borders wide to allow dangerous criminal illegal aliens and known terrorists to come into the country and set up sleeper cells? Do you want to cut your taxes? You want to elect a party that will continue to reduce your taxes, bigger paychecks and bigger tax refunds? Or do you want to elect the party that will raise your taxes, as they've vowed to do? And, by the way, applauded for themselves at the State of the Union. The only time the Democrats stood up and applauded themselves at the State of the Union was for their vote to raise your taxes. Do you want to vote for the party that is going to secure the cities of this country and towns, or the party that stands for policies that increase crime? Do you want to vote for the party that will secure elections, or the party that will undermine our system? Do you want to vote for the party that will protect women and girls' sports, or the party that wants to bring men back into those arenas? Do you want to vote for the party that will protect children, or the party that wants to return to transgender mutilation surgery for children? These are the choices. It is a choice election. It is a contrast election, again, between common sense that the Republicans have demonstrated and work for every day, or, frankly, crazy. I think we know where the American people are. Democrats have put up a fight and tried to stop us, but despite having the smallest majority in modern congressional history, with all the challenges that comes to that, we've still gotten the job done. And I would much rather be us than them going into this election cycle, because Democrats, as noted, have no message, they have no vision, they have no leadership. They're guided solely by retribution and their blinding hatred for Donald Trump. And that is not a winning message when you go into an election year. Cory Booker announced this week that he's introducing a bill to increase the standard deduction for lower and middle class and middle income families. We've noticed that Democrats acknowledge that Republican policies are working. I got a news for Senator Booker. It's very interesting, since he and every House and Senate Democrat had opportunities to vote for the most transformational tax cuts in American history earlier this year, and every single one of them voted against it. Democrats had opportunities to vote for significant tax relief for lower and middle income families. That's what we did. To vote for tax relief for seniors. That's what we did. Tax relief for tipped and overtime workers. We did that. An increased child tax credit, increased family and medical leave, an abundance of other pro-business, pro-labor tax incentives. We voted for that. That was Republican legislation that we put on the floor and passed with no Democrat help. They voted against every single one of those things. And there's a political price to pay for that. We plan to spend the next 8 months reminding the American people of those facts. Now look, the Democrats' record is as dangerous as it is shameful. And we would be remiss if we did not address the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security right now. Over the weekend, 2 aspiring terrorists, as you've seen, threw homemade bombs into a crowd of protesters in New York City. I won't even comment on how badly the media has misled the American people with coverage of that story, but let's talk about the reality. The more important point is that 2 terrorists nearly killed dozens of people with bombs, and the agency of the government that is specifically tasked with defending our homeland from exactly those types of threats is currently shut down, thanks to Democrats in Congress. Those bombs never exploded, thanks be to God, and countless lives were spared. But one of the attackers allegedly told police after the attack that he hoped that it would, quote, be even bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing. There was an alleged attack, a terror attack in Austin, as you know, 2 weekends ago. A bomb threat at an airport in Kansas City on Sunday. And the Department of Homeland Security is warning that the U.S. is susceptible to lone wolf and sleeper cell terror attacks on our homeland. And again, I'll repeat, all the critical agencies like CISA, the agencies that monitor bio threats and attacks on our critical infrastructure like CBP and the Coast Guard, they're all shut down right now because Democrats, as usual, are playing games. They're playing games with people's lives. We got other critical agencies like FEMA and TSA that are unfunded, experiencing significant staff shortages, and that's why travelers around the country have felt already the unfortunate effects. This weekend, airports reporting record wait times. All of that is because of the Democrat shutdown. If you missed a wedding or a funeral, you're worried about missing your flight for spring break this week, you have Democrats to blame. The Republicans have done our job. And Democrats are also to blame for the tens of thousands of TSA agents who continue to show up to work despite not having their paychecks. Those are hardworking people. They got families. They got bills to pay. They have real, regular lives, mouths to feed. And they protect our skies and they ensure our airports are functional, and yet Democrats are blocking their paychecks. And here's the big question. Why are they doing it? Why would they do that? They know all these things are happening. Why would they do it? It's very simple. They keep showing us over and over. Why is FEMA unable to process new grant applications for natural disasters? Why are our airports so congested and unreliable? Why is our homeland so vulnerable to threats? The answer is simple, because Democrats have made the conscious political decision, crazy as it is, by word and by deed, to protect criminal illegal aliens over hardworking American citizens. That's it. Democrats have dragged the American people through multiple shutdowns now. First, to protect, remember last time, in the longest shutdown in history, last fall, their argument was they wanted to protect health care benefits for illegal aliens, and now they've jeopardized the security of every American citizen to keep criminal illegal aliens in our country. They want to fight the Department of Homeland Security and the rule of law. It's wrong and it's dangerous, and we pray that the Senate and the Democrat put the safety of their constituents over the demands of the far-left radical base in their party that they run in fear of, and vote to reopen the Department of Homeland Security immediately. With that, we'll take a few questions. Manu. No, the hostilities and the military operation in Iran is limited in its scope. The president has said as recently as several hours ago that it will be over soon. It's been remarkably successful. I think I saw the number, over 5,000 targets struck in that country. The leadership of the country, the regime, has been turned over to a next generation. Who knows how long that will go? But they're holding the people back. They've killed tens of thousands of their own citizens. And importantly, for America, the reason this is in America's interest is because they were going to strike us. And they have been at war with us. Iran declared war on us for the last 4 decades. They said they wanted to wipe Israel off the face of the map, and they wanted to hit us as the great Satan. They've killed American citizens. They have fired upon our service members over there and our installations enough. But I think that this current operation was by design limited in scope and in mission. I think the mission is being achieved, is nearly completed, and the commander-in-chief himself said in the last 24 hours it will come to a close. So gas prices will readjust after that. You know, most of this is because the Strait of Hormuz has been closed by the regime down there, but it will be reopened, and it will take a couple of weeks, but gas prices will come back down. Remember, they were down almost $2.50 a gallon on a national average under President Trump, when under Biden they were at almost $5 a gallon. So this is a temporary blip in an extraordinary trend of a return to American energy dominance. The evidence speaks for itself, and it will continue to. Olivia. Look, I've spoken to those members and all members, as I always do, about our tone and our message and what we say. There's a lot of energy in the country and a lot of popular sentiment that the demand to impose Sharia law in America is a serious problem. That's what animates this, and that's the the language that people use. It's different language than I would use, but I think that that's a serious issue. Sharia law and the imposition of Sharia law is contrary to the U.S. Constitution. Our Constitution is the greatest in the world. It's the longest surviving Constitution on the planet, and we're 250 years into this grand experiment in self-governance. And one of the principles that we believe in, stated first in the nation's birth certificate, is that all of us are created equal by God. It means every single person has inestimable dignity and value, and that we respect everyone's beliefs and their right to live out their beliefs and to speak freely about their beliefs and have that conviction. But when you seek to come to a country and not assimilate, but to impose Sharia law is in conflict with the U.S. Constitution. That is the conflict that people are talking about. It is not about people as Muslims. It's about those who seek to impose a different belief system that is in direct conflict with the Constitution. That's where I think that comes from. Back row.
Passing another reconciliation bill ahead of the midterms, and if so, do you think a push for additional military funding could impact negotiations?
Yeah, so there's, I think, a supplemental funding bill for military is inevitable. We don't yet know what the details of that will be. As you know, in the process submitted by the administration to Congress, and then it's deliberated upon and passed. We were anticipating a supplemental even before the Iran operation began. So that will happen. The timetable is yet to be determined. I have, as you probably all know, I have been a champion for reconciliation as one of the important tools in the toolbox, so to speak, or one of the plays in the playbook, using the metaphor. I think that we can come together if you envision a Venn diagram as I do. What are those handful of issues that are in the center of those concentric circles that is something that every Republican can agree on, that is great things for the country. I think that the central theme of all of this is we are going to continue to have our sleeves rolled up every day working to lower the cost of living for everyone, because it's a central issue, and also to stamp out fraud, waste, and abuse. And you've seen the fraud that's been put on display in states like Minnesota. California is being audited for some of their fraud, some of the big blue states. I think they've got serious problems. We can use potentially reconciliation as a vehicle to address some of that as well, because I'm going to guess for you, the Democrats are not going to help us on that, because they're the ones that have given cover for fraud. Some of these things we have to do on our own, so to speak, as a partisan priority, and reconciliation is the vehicle to do that. So we'll see how that works out. Yes, sir.
The president yesterday talked about the SAVE Act as being the #1 priority this year. I hear you, I know you've already passed it, but you're talking a lot about keeping costs down. I wonder if you and the president are on the same page about the top priority going into this year.
Look, we're all on the same page, and it's about a 90-10 issue in America. The Democrats are the only ones not on that issue. You think of what that bill has entailed, and when we passed the SAVE Act twice out of the House, and now the Save America Act, and the Save America Act in its current form, the one in the Senate right now that we sent over, basically only you have to supply proof of citizenship to register to vote and a simple photo ID to do that, to vote. Those, everyone agrees with that. 70% of Democrats do. I mean, it is one of the most popular issues in the country because it's so important to maintain election integrity. Now, it's over in the Senate. Now, why is it not passing the Senate? Because no Democrat will go along with that. You'll get all the Republican votes for that. Of course, Leader Thune is in favor of it. Every Senate Republican believes in those principles. But the way the Senate is set up, as you know, is you have to have 60 votes to pass substantive legislation. Democrats won't help. They're going to have to answer to their constituents for that. Now, I don't tell Leader Thune how to run the Senate. He doesn't tell me how to run the House. I know he's working on it. I know they're looking at all avenues. But the President and I are exactly in lockstep on that, of course, because he emphasizes the importance of that. As we all know, if you cannot believe in the integrity of the election in a constitutional republic, I mean, that's the foundation of everything. And we have to do everything within our power to make sure that that happens. Now, I'm happy and delighted to tell you, I think it's 37 states currently have a form of photo ID that's required to vote. That makes sense, because you have to do everything you do in society. You have to have a photo ID. You got to have an ID to drive, to fly, to get on a flight, on an airplane, to get a library card. I mean, everything. To get government assistance, certainly it's not a big burden to say that you should have to prove who you are to vote. Many of the states are doing that already. We're concerned about the states that aren't. But we have an obligation in Congress, so far as it goes to federal elections, to ensure that they're as secure as possible. And the President is laser focused on that, and we are as well, and we'll continue to message it and do everything we can in the legislative branch to try to get it done. Front row, yes ma'am. Orange jacket. This is a new topic that everyone's been debating. Look, I don't think there's a necessity. I don't think there's the appetite to put boots on the ground in Cuba. I think some of this happens organically. I think the system is in the process of collapsing because it's a socialist regime, and those experiments never work. Note Mayor Mondami. But listen, if it happens that there's a regime change there, we don't need American troops there. I don't believe we do. I think that will happen, and they'll be looking to change things, and maybe they'll be driving vehicles, that were manufactured later than 1952 very soon, and that would be great. Look, they're a close neighbor. They're 90 miles from Key West, I mean, they're a close neighbor, and it's in our neighborhood in the hemisphere. The President, because of his strong leadership, brought together the Security for the Americas new initiative to take care of narco-terrorists and ensure that in our hemisphere we're safe and secure, and there's so many countries bought in on that. Cuba will be a big topic of discussion, and we hope that it works out well. But should we be sending a bunch of American troops there? I don't think there's a necessity for that. So that answers the question. Thank you all for being here.